I'm so glad that you joined us. My name is Brian Bennett. I am the founder of Multiply Leaders, a resourcing and coaching organization. And during our time ahead in this webinar, we're going to be focusing and diving deep on this topic of living your legacy, living tomorrow's legacy today. Now, this principle is very simple, but it's extraordinarily powerful, that if we'll look out into the end of our lives and kind of put ourselves there for a moment and look back on our life, and just think and just slow down long enough to get real clarity about how we are hoping to look back on our life and the type of legacy that we've left in the key relationships in our life and those that we love the most. How will we be remembered by them? From our actions, from our words, from our presence every day in our home, in our friendships, in our workplaces. How will we be remembered by those that we love the most? How will we have treated them? How will we have spoken to them and cared for them? But legacy also, think about the goals in our life and the roles that we have in our workplaces and our families, and think about the type of things that we seek to accomplish, we want to do with our time and our talent and our treasures as we think about those goals that are near to us. If we'll get clarity around that legacy that we want to leave in the future, then we can live that legacy today. We can be intentional and not just be passive, not just kind of float through life, but we can be very focused. And that focus, that clarity is going to empower us, to enable us to live the legacy that we want to leave behind us, that we're going to live that legacy today. Who's Multiply Leaders? We are a coaching and resourcing organization that is passionate about helping leaders unlock their potential in Jesus' name. So we do coaching for leaders and life coaching in general, as we'll talk about today, is more on the life coaching side, and also the resourcing. We have books and a blog that we put valuable resources on to unlock leaders' potential, and that's our focus, is helping leaders unlock their potential, and we do it from a faith perspective in the name of Jesus. Legacy, that word on the screen and the word that we're focusing on during our time. For some of us, we might come at this from different emotions. Some of us, we come at it with excitement. We're motivated by that word. We're inspired because we're dialed in to the life that we want to live. We're focused every single day on, we've got real clarity about the kind of legacy that we want to leave behind us. Or we're excited because we're on the edge of having real clarity. And others of us, we might come at this word with a bit of disappointment as we look back on our life and we think about our teen years or our 20s or our 30s or our 40s or 50s. We look back and we think, man, I wish I would have risked a bit more. I wish I would have loved a bit more deeply. I wish I would have slowed down enough to drink in life a little bit more. I wish I would have enjoyed life a little bit more and worked maybe a little bit less, or I wish I would have used my talents more at work. I wish I would have gone for it more at work. So all of us might come at this word from different angles, different emotions, but this is a powerful word because it's a word that's full of opportunity as we think about a word. Here's the definition. Something handed down or received from an ancestor or predecessor. Something handed down or received from an ancestor or predecessor. I don't know about you, but that definition doesn't inspire me. When I think about just handing something down, typically we think of handing things down, like a house or a car, and as important that is, and I want to make sure that I'm leaving a certain type of legacy when it comes to the stuff of life for my children and others in the world. But far more important, far more valuable than even that, is who we are and how we treat people and the legacy that comes from that. Who we are and how we treat people every single day. And as I think about that, and as I think about the potential that is possible in this word legacy, is today I have the potential, no matter what kind of legacy I've led up to this point in my life, today, right now, in this moment, I have the potential to determine the future legacy that I'm going to live with and to leave behind me. And for some of us, that might mean that we need to reconcile some relationships. We need to ask forgiveness, or we need to change some focuses in our life. Hopefully for all of us, from our time together, we're going to make some shifts, or we're going to desire to make some shifts. We're going to have greater clarity about where we're headed, and that means we might need to change some things along the way. But here's the good news, is today, right now, you have the ability to choose the type of legacy that you want to leave behind you going forward. And if we can get real clarity behind that legacy, then we can get real purposefulness every single day, real intentionality to choose that legacy in every conversation around everyone that we're around. We're at the beginning of 2015 currently, and as you're looking out ahead, I'm assuming if you're in this webinar, then you're someone who is passionate, you're someone who is dialing in to focus or is already focused. And as you look at 2015, you're thinking about the possibilities, about what's ahead, knowing that in 2015 there's a lot of potential there. Here's a question for you. How do you want to be remembered at the end of 2015? When you look out towards the end of the year, when we're in this time next year in 2016, how do you want to be remembered? How do you want to be known? And then the second question is, are you heading to the right finish line in 2015? Right now, as of today, are you heading in the right direction? Notice the emphasis on the word right, because we're all heading towards a finish line for 2015, and not only 2015, but for the end of our life. All of us are heading. All of us one day will no longer be walking on this earth. All of us are heading to the finish line. The question is today, is it the right finish line? Are we headed in the right direction, or do we need a course correction? I want you for a moment to imagine your funeral. Imagine there's a room with a casket and you're in it, and the room is full of people. The room is packed, jam full of people. And one at a time they're getting up to talk about you. And as they get up to stand and speak, what are you hoping that they'll say about you? Because that's what you want to be known for. What are you hoping that your family, that your friends, that your coworkers, that your neighbors, that those who you're seeking to leave make a difference, an impression on their life? What are you hoping that they will say about you? How will you be known at the very end of your life? Because that question clarifies, are we heading to the right finish line? Some of us might be heading to a finish line where we have a lot of stuff, but we're not leaving behind us the legacy we want to in our relationships with our children, with our spouse, with our friends and coworkers. Others of us want to maximize our strengths, our talents, and our gifts to increase the material legacy that we want to leave, and we're already dialed into those relationships. And for some of us, we might come to this webinar and just feel totally defeated and just be struggling in every aspect of our life. We might be struggling with depression, something that I've experienced and went through a specific 3-year period in the past with. And I know how hard it is in those moments to envision the future and to start crafting a legacy because you lack the energy to. Are you heading to the right finish line? Not just any finish line, but are you heading to the finish line that you're dreaming, that you're hoping, that you're desiring to head to? If not, today's the day to start making those shifts so that you're heading to the right finish line, so that you'll be known at the end of your life and you're going to leave the legacy that you want to leave at that moment. Begin with the end in mind. This is a huge principle from Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. This principle alone can be life-changing. It can change the trajectory of some of our futures as we think about changing, getting a real clarity about the future of where we want to go, the end, and then changing the present so that we head in the right direction to get to the end that we want to get, that we cross the finish line we want to cross. So we look into the future, we identify the life that we want to look back on at that point, and then we start living that life today. Begin with the end in mind. If you haven't read the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, highly recommend it. It's a book, very powerful. The principles in that book will change your perspective. As we set out to accomplish and achieve the legacy, to live that legacy today that we want to leave tomorrow, we're going to run into the wall. And the wall is the obstacles that's going to come. It's the resistance that always comes whenever we're seeking to make a significant shift, a significant change in our life. So for some of us, that shift is going to be some emotional baggage that we haven't opened up and processed through. For others of us, that's going to be an old wound that's still kind of guiding our life. So maybe some old voices in our life from a parent who told us we'd never be anything, or that we were stupid, or that we're always going to be a failure. It might be just the fear of going out and risking. Whatever the resistance is in our life, and for many of us it's a shame that we're unworthy of being loved, we're unworthy of encouragement, we're unworthy of accomplishing the dreams that we want to accomplish. It's just a shame that we carry along with us. We've got to overcome the resistance. We've got to overcome the obstacles, the walls in our life. We've got to smash through those walls if we're going to leave the legacy we desire to leave behind us, if we're going to live that today. Here's some key things I just want to think about as we identify the resistance, the walls, the obstacles in our life. Because if we can name them and identify them, then we can start to face them. And if we start facing them, we can make progress, and eventually we can wade through the resistance that's going to come. And be sure of it, it's going to come. Anytime we try to do anything meaningful in life, there's going to be resistance. And this can be extraordinarily powerful in our life as we think about making these types of changes that are going to bring about the future we desire to experience. So here's the first one. It's just a fuzzy vision about future legacy. If the vision of our future, the legacy that we want to leave behind us, is in our heads, and if it's not written down on paper, the odds of us accomplishing it are going to be slim because of resistance. Resistance, obstacles, they make you question if is it worth it. They make you question what you're focused on. And at the end of the day, if we write it down and get real clarity on paper about the vision that we want, it forces us to spell it out. It forces us to prioritize. And then when those moments come where we're hitting big obstacles in our life, when we ask the question, is it worth it? We're going to be able to look at our vision and say, absolutely. Being this type of spouse is worth it. Being this to my children is worth it. Being this to my coworkers is worth it. Accomplishing this with my vocation is worth it. It's worth it at the end of the day. But we got to write that out. For some of us, the resistance is fear. The fear of failure, the fear of what others are going to say, the fear of the unknown for some of us. And others, just thinking about the end of our life alone brings a significant fear as we think about how vulnerable we are as human beings and how quickly life goes. All kinds of possibilities for fear to creep up. A third one is that we don't write down our life plan. If we haven't written it down, as I said earlier, that is going to keep us from actually being able to not only be motivated enough to get through the resistance, but also to execute. Because if we don't write down the life plan, then we're not going to have the specific next steps, the action steps that we're going to need to accomplish it. So we're at the 20,000 foot level, but we need to get down to the weeds. We need to write it down so that everything is spelled out so that we can get down to where it really makes a difference. If we can get down to the soil of our life, then we can start planting seeds, pulling weeds, and making a difference. And that's going to come from writing it down. Failing to keep the plan and focus daily is another form of resistance. It's another obstacle. If we're not keeping the plan that life plan, the future legacy vision that we've worked on in our focus every single day, then we're going to quit when it's hard. We're going to lose sight, and we're going to sell out to some other vision of the future that someone else has for us. And make no mistake, everyone around us has a vision for our life. The advertisers has a vision for our life, our workplaces, the people around us, teammates, our neighbors. Everyone has a vision for how they'd like us to live. And if we're not intentional about living our lives, we're going to end up living somebody else's story that's been written. And they may not have our best interests in mind, and it may not lead to the legacy that we want to leave behind us. Untouched emotional pain. I hit on this a little bit earlier, but this is powerful. Emotions drive us at a deep level, and if we are not touching certain parts of our emotional kind of reservoir inside because of the pain that's there, if there's experiences that we've experienced that are very hard for us to even think about, those are going to affect us at a deep level. And if we're not willing to touch them and invite God into them and walk through them, maybe with the help of a counselor, with a friend, then we're going to limit ourselves, and we're not going to be able to overcome the resistance because those emotional cycles that we get on, unhealthy cycles because of that untouched pain, is going to limit us. The need for empowering habits. For some of us, it might be we need exercise and we're not exercising, and so we're not going to have the energy to get through the resistance, or we're not eating healthy, so we're not going to have the energy once again to get through the resistance, or our sleep habit. Or maybe for you it's a devotional habit, a meditation habit, a scripture, a prayer habit that we need to make sure that we've embedded in our life and is at the core. Think about those habits. What's at the core of your life that's going to fuel health and that's going to empower you every single day? I know for me, one of the keys is a thought life, is the habit of, I have 6 or so things from Romans 8 that I walk through every single morning, or at least I try to, every morning to just really dial in to who God is and who am I and what's true of me. I call those gospel empowering thoughts. Thoughts that are drawn from me from the gospel of Jesus that really set me free to live and to live to the fullness of who I am in Jesus with my purpose that He's given me. The last one is just staying in the hamster wheel of life. It is so easy. and I know this place all too well, and I'm sure many of us on this webinar do as well, is just to constantly run at 100 miles an hour. And really to just feel like in a whirlwind where we lack a clarity about where we're headed or what's happening, to feel almost out of breath. Some of us just feeling anxiety about the pace that we're running at, and to let others set our schedules, set our calendars, set the expectations for our life, instead of taking charge, being proactive with our calendars and with our time and where we invest our time and our resources and our talents and our stewardship of our life. So if we stay on that hamster wheel and we're blaming others around us, we're never going to experience a change, because only we can be responsible for our calendars. We have to take charge. Everyone else isn't asking the question, do we have margin? Are we resting? Are we taking care of ourselves? Are we investing in the most important relationships in our lives? They're just seeking something from us, and it may not be a bad thing, but we have to be in charge of our calendars if we're going to get through the resistance and accomplish the legacy that we want to leave behind us. Live the legacy today that you want to leave tomorrow. That's the powerful principle that we're talking about, that we're diving into, that we're thinking about together. And it begins with this. It begins with clarifying your purpose statement. We've got to clarify your purpose statement. If you want to leave the legacy tomorrow, if you want to live that today, then we've got to get real clarity about why am I here? What's my purpose? And I've given you my purpose statement below. Here it is. My purpose is to glorify God by empowering leaders to unlock their potential through teaching, mentoring, coaching, and resourcing. So I didn't have to put in there for me, glorify God. That makes it a little bit more wordy. But for me, just motivationally, I want to make sure, I know that's true of my life, but I wanted to make sure in my purpose statement that was there to really be a safe kind of valve on my motivation, that it just drew me back constantly, that life isn't about me, but I'm seeking ultimately to glorify God. How am I seeking to do that? By empowering leaders to unlock their potential through teaching, mentoring, coaching, and resourcing. I've identified those four things, teaching, mentoring, coaching, and resourcing, as the how of how I'm going to leave the type of legacy that when it comes to my purpose. And so when I get clarity around my purpose statement, it guides everything around me. It guides my vocation. It guides how I live every day, what I give my time to. That's my purpose statement. My purpose statement reflects my unique gift mix, my unique passion, my unique experiences to me personally. It reflects what others have encouraged me with and built into me, and I believe it's faithful to who I am, and that's key to getting clarity around your purpose statement. If I asked you what's your purpose statement, would you be able to tell me in a sentence? Do you have enough clarity around who you are, what you're gifted at, what your strengths are, and what you're passionate about, to tell me in a sentence with real clarity? I'm going to walk through a couple keys as we think about purpose statements, because purpose statement is where we got to start when it comes to leaving the legacy that we want to leave behind us. A good purpose statement is memorable. So I've got to be able to memorize mine. A good purpose statement is short, right? If it's long, that affects memorableness. But also, if it's super long, then we don't have clarity. We just lack clarity. If it's wordy, we lack clarity. And it's got to be unique to us. I hope you heard that in that last slide. It's got to be unique to who I am. My purpose statement is unique to me. You shouldn't take my purpose statement and apply it to you. You should write your own and really think deeply about what your purpose statement is. No two purpose statements are going to be exactly alike, and it's got to be specific. So my purpose statement can't be at a 50,000 foot level. It's got to be specific to who I am and what I've been called to do on this earth. It's got to be motivating. Our purpose statements, when we read them every day, should be motivating to us. It should inspire us and should focus us with an energy to go and do it. I made my purpose statement on my mouse pad, so that every single day when I'm looking at my mouse, I'm using that a lot in my work, that I've got my purpose statement down there to remind me. I just went to one of these sites, I created it in an image, put it up there on my mouse pad, so every single day I'm looking at my purpose statement, because that's going to motivate me and it's going to help me stay focused. And a purpose statement should capture both the what is my purpose and the how. What's my purpose? So mine is to help leaders, empower leaders to unlock their full potential. That's my purpose. The how is through teaching, mentoring, coaching, and resourcing. That's the how. So your purpose statement should accomplish both the what, empowering leaders to unlock their full potential, and the how. How are you going to do that? What are those gifts, strengths that you are known for, that you have cultivated, that is clear to you? How are you going to accomplish the what? Once we have a good purpose statement, and every single day we've put it in places that we're reminded of, we've got to put it there in repetition until it just comes natural to us. But once we have a good purpose statement, then we've got to identify our life focuses, identify your life focuses. So here's my question. What are the top 6 focuses in your life? Some people call these life accounts. Some people just call them life focuses, and that's what I call them. What are the top 6 focuses in your life? What are the top 6 priorities in your life? And you're going to have more than 6 when you start writing it down. And that's what I want you to do. Maybe pause the webinar right now and just write down number 6 and just write down what are my top 6 focuses, especially because I'm going to show you mine. So I encourage you, just pause it, do yours, and then keep going. Here's mine. Number 1 is walk with God each day. So for me, is just to live in that relationship with God, in that faith relationship every single day, receiving from Him my identity, receiving from Him the good news to me in Jesus, the promises of Jesus, and responding by walking in faith. The second one might surprise you, but it's taking care of myself. And this surprised me years ago. I heard another leader say this, and they said, you need to take care of yourself before you take care of others. And that makes sense when you say it, but when you see it listed above my wife, above my children, it's hard. It just doesn't feel right because I want to be a servant leader. I don't want to be selfish. I don't want to be egocentric. But if I don't take care of myself, then I can't live out my purpose, and I can't give my best to my wife or to my boys. And so I first got to take care of myself. That means emotionally, that means physically, with exercise, with the food that I eat, with socially, making sure that there's the right relationships, the right motivation in my life, the right refueling that's going to help me with rest and activity, with my boundaries that I have. That's what taking care of myself is all about. Third is to love my wife. And that's just the kind of the title of that account for me. Just for I would love my wife, the title of that life focus. And she comes above my children. And so fourth is my boys. I've got 2 small boys, and so my focus is in pouring into them and being a faithful father to them, a present father to them. Number 5 is deep relationships with families and friends, with family and friends. There's a time in my life where I was a workaholic. I was passionate. I'm motivated every single day, and if I'm not careful, I can live without boundaries. And so for me, it's very intentional to have number 5 above number 6, which is to serve faithfully in my vocational calling, just to really utilize my purpose, and as it lines up with my vocation, and as I live my life every day, to really, I'm going to come and bring my very best every single day. So I know that. I just need to make sure that those other things are in the right order in my life. The right focuses are in the right order. And it is key, not just to get the right 6 focuses. There's been time where maybe finances has been up there and something else has dropped off. Different season exercise has been up there and something else has dropped off because I felt like I really needed to focus on it. But we need to identify what are your 6, and then what's the order. And it really is important. Like, take care of myself. That's got to be number 2. And so I can't feel guilty for taking care of myself. Now, what that looks like is different for everyone. But I take care of myself so that I can love my wife, so that I can be faithful to my boys, so that I can be in deep relationships and serve in my vocational. Once we've identified and prioritized our life focuses, then we develop a vision statement for each of those focus areas. This is so key. I cannot stress it enough that we've got to write down our vision focuses and then write down a vision statement. So we're going to have 6 different sets of vision focuses with a vision statement underneath them, and ultimately we're going to have an action steps underneath them as well. So 6 different areas on a 1 to 2 page vision plan, and here's an example of what a vision statement might look like. This is one of my longer vision statements, just because I really want to be better at home than I am anywhere else, and that's a journey I've been on for a while, focusing in to be better at home. So this one relates to my wife, Katie, and this is what I wrote. I am experiencing a deepening intimacy with Katie, and we are communicating honestly with gentleness. I am serving her and seeking to encourage her heart with the hope of Christ. I am affirming and celebrating her daily, and she knows with confidence I believe in her. I am speaking her love languages and proactively seeking to make emotional deposits in her account. I am listening deeply to her words and heart. I am treating her gently with my words and attitude, and she feels more alive because of my presence in her life. That's a vision. That's what I want. You'll notice it's in present tense language, and that's key. Write it in present tense. And you don't want it, that one actually is probably a little too long, but for me, that, like I said, that's an emphasis one for me, and so I really wanted to capture something that was motivating to me. At the end of the day, what's most important is it's clear, it's as simple as you possibly can make it, but it's motivating to you, and it encompasses a vision for that area of your life that you believe is worth fighting for and worth living on target with. It's going to help you ultimately leave the type of legacy that you want to leave behind you, and it's something that you can live today. So we've identified a vision statement for each focus area after identifying our purpose and after identifying our life focuses. So purpose, life focuses, and then under each one of those life focuses is a vision statement for each of them. Now, after we've identified a vision statement, the next step is to take the first step in identifying action steps. If you want to implement the vision, we must identify action steps. Action steps are where we really get friction and we really get movement towards living the type of legacy tomorrow that we want to leave behind us and that we can live it today. So we've got action steps. Identify 2 to 3 action steps for each area. So once again, my relationship with my wife, I've shown you my life focuses. I've shown you my vision statement for the one that relates to my wife, and now I'm showing you 2 to 3 action steps for this area. And this changes for me as I develop one and grow in one, as I struggle with something, or as I want to just maximize, emphasize something. Here's my 3 action steps in this area of my life plan, is to turn off my phone in the driveway before entering the house from 5 to 7:30 when I'm home. That's key for me. I can come home after a long day and just veg out on the couch with my cell phone if I'm not careful, which is bad for my relationship with my wife and my relationship with my children. So I need to come home and just be engaged, and to do that, I need to turn off my phone in the driveway. That's the trigger that reminds me of the value that I want to pursue in that moment. A date time with my wife each Friday. I take off a significant portion of Fridays, and so I'm a date time every Friday with her. That's key for us to connect, for me to listen, for me to pursue her heart, and at the end of the week for us to just really catch up. And then to pray together before I leave each morning, as faith is so essential in my life and our life together, mine and my wife. It's important for us to pray together in the busyness of getting our kids out the door where they need to go and heading out to work and the different things that we need to do, just to take that time to spiritually engage each other and engage each other with God, and just to pray together before I leave. Those are my 3 action steps for each area, and we need to develop those for each area of our life plan. Underneath our vision statements, we write 3 action steps. Here are my wife. When we identify and prioritize our life focuses after we've identified our purpose statement, which really helps us live with purpose. Now we've identified our 6 key focuses. Underneath each of these 6 key focuses, we've identified a vision statement. Underneath that vision statement, we've identified action steps. Now we're ready to live our dream. We're ready to really act on those action steps. And as we act on those action steps, as we remind ourselves daily of them, and it might have to start off with that at first, is daily us reminding ourselves at the beginning of every morning, pulling out our life plan and just looking at it, reflecting on it as we start our day. I want to encourage you to take your action steps and to plug them right into your calendar. Dave Kraft shared this with me, and it was a powerful concept of taking those action steps and plugging them right into your calendar. He's an author and a leadership coach, and it really was helpful for me as I was seeking to implement some things in my life, and as I was learning from him of just applying that into our calendar as we see it. So for me, there's something as simple as drink water. I don't like water. I love coffee. But if I'll put drink water or drink at these key points in my day before I leave the house, when I'm coming back in towards the end of night, if I'll actually just build those into my calendar, I've got my action steps right in my calendar. So even something like that of drink water, or when I have between 5 and 7:30, I have shut off phone. It comes up on my calendar, and I'm reminded of that value, because ultimately it's about the legacy I want to leave in my family, in my home, and whatever your action steps are, whatever you can do, plug them into your calendar. And for some of you, think, well, I don't know where to plug it in. Well, plug it in at a part of the day. If you don't know where, or if it could go anywhere, plug it in at the best part of the day, or the most important part of the day. For you, if it's eating a healthy lunch at lunch every day, even if you're at a business meeting, put that over the meeting. Eat a healthy lunch. Eat a salad. That's one of my action steps right now. Eat a salad every single day. And so I just put that for lunch. Now, some days that gets moved around, but what's important is that I'm focused on it. It's in my line of focus. I'm reminded there's accountability there, and I'm making it easy for me to live the dream, which is ultimately living the legacy that I want to live with every single day. Legacy. What's yours? What legacy are you leaving behind you today? What legacy are you building for the future with your words, with your action, with your presence? We've talked about getting clarity with our purpose statement and priorities of our life accounts, of our life focuses, of our priorities, and then crafting those vision statements that are really going to empower our legacy. But nothing is going to move forward until we write those action steps, and really until we get accountability on those action steps. So make sure you invite somebody else into the process with you. That's so important, to invite someone else into that process that is going to help you. And we're here to help if needed. If you have questions, if you need help crafting a life plan, if you need help just with the friction side of having a coach involved, we do coaching over the phone, we do coaching in person. And so just email us if we can serve you in any way. If you'd like to see an example life plan, we'd love to get that in your hands, because we know how powerful it is ourselves, because we use them, and it's changed the trajectory of our lives. And we know the struggle as well. Be encouraged. If you've got a life plan and you're just struggling to work that plan, stay focused, stay on it, invite some other people, invite some others who are going to cheer you on, encourage you, but stay focused. It's hard to live out your legacy today that you want to leave tomorrow, but it's powerful. It's powerful, and I assure you it's worth it. Getting through the resistance, choosing again to start fresh tomorrow, it's worth it. Keep going. On MultiplyLeaders.org is where you're going to find our resources, find our blog, and you're going to be able to find some other free stuff that we give away there. Also, our subscriber list for our email. We will email right to your inbox the content that we send out one time a week. And then Multiplying Leaders there again is our Gmail contact. We'd love to hear from you, love to connect with you. A few final thoughts as you go. In Jesus, you are covered in the grace of God. You are empowered with the Holy Spirit. You are called for His purposes. God will never leave you, and He will finish what He started in you. In Jesus, the best is yet to come. Find encouragement in Jesus. Find strength. Find hope in Him, because truly the best is yet to come in Jesus. 2 questions as we end our time. What change will you commit to make from something that resonated with you today? And who will you invite to join you in the process to get friction? What change will you make from something that resonated with you? Commit to that change right now. If it's going to write a life plan, write it down right now. I will write my life plan and put a date next to it. If it's to get a coach, write that down. If it's to share your life plan with someone else, if it's to apologize to someone as you thought about the kind of legacy that you want to leave, and it's apologize to your children, or if it's to make a shift in your work schedule, whatever it is, whatever resonated with you today, write that down right now. I want to encourage you, though, no matter what you do, write down your life plan as one of those action steps. And then that question of who will you invite to join you in the process to get friction. As we said, it's so important that we don't try to make significant shifts in our life alone, but that we make shifts together, because there's real empowerment that comes from having others encourage us, hold us accountable, cheer us on as we go. And last thing is, just don't make all the changes at once. Start off by making one change from our time today. Just take one thing, one change, and focus on one area. You might write out the whole life plan, but focus on one area, one account, one focus on your life plan, one priority. For me, if it's my wife that needs the most attention right now, I'm going to focus on that area. And if I need to shift some things in the way that I'm treating, I'm going to focus in and choose that vision statement and those 3 action steps. Not that I'm going to ignore the others, but I'm just going to really dial in, and I'm going to try and make a change there. And then I'll start to make changes after I see some movement there. Thank you for joining us. I'm trusting today has been valuable in your life. It's added value to your leadership, added value to your future, to your legacy. Thank you for joining us for Live Your Legacy, living tomorrow's legacy today. Lead on. The best is yet to come.